If you're looking for a way to host your website, in this video, I'm going to show you a way to host your site for free. I am indie developer Brandon and welcome back to my channel. I'm guessing you're here because, like me, you want to stay in that low cost or no cost zone for web hosting. I'll show you how to host your site on AWS for free if you're not already pulling in 500,000 page views per month. No $5 a month subscriptions and juggling between 3 different providers. Your site can be live in about 10 minutes. I'll guide you through the whole process. So no worries, no sweat, and let's get started. Now, if you've never touched AWS before, you might be thinking, this sounds complicated. Why not just stick with those one-click deployment solutions, right? But I promise, it's much easier than it looks, and there's a big benefit to doing it yourself. In fact, many of those one-click services are literally running on top of AWS. So why not skip the middleman, cut the cost, and go straight to the source? From my experience, the biggest advantage which people often overlook early on is that this method keeps everything inside one unified stack. Your hosting, database, and CDN can all live within a single ecosystem. That means smoother scaling, easier upgrades, and simpler integrations when you add new services later. And the best part? Many of those future upgrades in AWS can still stay in the zero or low cost zone. So if you're paying $6 a month for hosting, plus other add-ons, this is definitely worth a try. If that sounds good to you, hit that like button and let's begin. First, we need something to host. How about this cute little innocent analytics tool right here? I just started building it for myself, so it's still a baby. Which means, yeah, you guessed it. Basically nothing works yet. Well, not entirely nothing, but it's good enough for this demo. If you don't have a project ready, you can use your framework's default app. Same thing, nothing works there either. I am just kidding, kind of. Or just ask AI coders like Cursor or Claude Code to spin up a simple project for you in minutes. So I'm going to run the build command here, which generates a bunch of production files for my web app. And we'll be throwing this little baby, this masterpiece, onto AWS in a second. Now, before we deploy, let's quickly go through the architecture we're using. It's just 2 things, S3 and CloudFront. Think of AWS S3 as your website's hard drive in the cloud. It stores all your static files, HTML, CSS, JavaScript, and images. Basically, everything that makes up your baby website. Then, on top of that sits CloudFront. CloudFront is like a global delivery network that caches your S3 files all around the world. All those servers are managed automatically by AWS, so you don't need to do anything except enable it. When someone visits your site, CloudFront serves your your website from the closest location to them. That means faster load times and a smoother experience for your visitors. Technically, you could host your static site using only S3's static website hosting feature, and it'll work fine. But I highly recommend adding CloudFront, not just because it makes me look professional. Okay, maybe a little, but because it genuinely gives your site a massive performance and reliability boost, especially if you have global visitors. That's a big win for your site's SEO too, since faster load times are a key ranking factor for search engines. Now, I've been talking for so long about how great this setup is and how professional I sound, and you're probably thinking, okay, just tell me how to host my site for free already. Alright, here's the secret sauce. Every month, AWS gives you 5 GB of S3 storage in their free tier. And for CloudFront, you get 1 TB of data transfer and 10 million requests, all for free. Translated into human language, that means you won't pay a single cent until your website reaches around 500,000 to 1 million page views per month. Sounds familiar? Kind of like those professional training ads that say you don't pay until you get the job. Well, that's pretty much my vibe too. I'm broke and I don't want to spend money until I'm making money. So yeah, that's one of the main reasons I love this method. Anyway, let's keep going and actually set this thing up. Alright, let's hop onto the AWS console and start with S3. Click Create Bucket, give it a name. Now, by default, all public access is blocked, which is great. We want to keep it that way, so nobody can access this bucket except me, not even other AWS services in my account. I'll keep the rest of the settings as default, because I don't know what they do. Just kidding. It's because the default is safe and totally sufficient for what we're doing. You can read through the detail if you want, or just save yourself an hour and trust me. Click Create, and we are done. Next, we're going to create a CloudFront distribution. Click Create Distribution, give it a name again, and hit Next. By default, the origin is set to S3, which is perfect. Now, CloudFront wants to know which bucket it can serve publicly. So I'll just enter the same bucket name here. And this little detail is basically saying,
"Hi, I'm lovely little CloudFront. And can I please have permission to access your bucket, my master?"
And since we just told S3 to block everyone except us, we now have to say yes. So do your job, CloudFront. Go ahead and deliver my glorious website to the world. Click Next all the way through to create. Quick heads up, your new distribution will show as pending for a few minutes. So it won't work until AWS done its thing. Once it's ready, that status will change to a timestamp, and that's our green light. And that's it. We're officially ready to deploy. Hold on, my dear friends. Before we move on, I've got a little bonus tip for you. Everything we just did manually in the console can actually be automated. Let me introduce you to AWS CloudFormation. Basically, the Let Me Do It For You service. You just give it a blueprint, which is a configuration file, and it builds all the infrastructure automatically. Now, if you don't feel like digging through AWS documentation to figure out how to write one, this is where our good old AI pals come in. So I asked my resourceful AI buddy to create a template.yaml file for hosting a static website using S3 and CloudFront. My AI buddy seems to know what I'm talking about, and it even complimented me on what an excellent idea I had. Thanks, AI pal. Appreciate the pep talk and the code. So I followed the instruction and ran the build command, then the deploy command, fill in a few details and yes/no questions, then waited for magic to happen.
5 minutes later.
My AI buddy and AWS actually got it done. I can now see the same S3 bucket and CloudFront distribution created automatically in my account. The beauty of this technique, it saves time, avoids human mistakes, and even lets you version control your infrastructure like a true DevOps pro. You are welcome for the bonus tip, my dear friends. If this little trick impressed you, maybe hit that like button and subscribe if you haven't already. You will, right? Now that everything's ready, let's deploy this website like a pro. I'll head into S3 bucket in AWS console again and just drag and drop the build files prepared previously. And that's it, seriously. Is it because I'm too good that it looks this easy? Maybe. Anyway, once the files are uploaded, you can grab the CloudFront URL and your website is live around the world. This setup is fantastic for personal projects, quick MVPs, anything you want to get online fast without worrying about cost or maintenance. But if you're building something long-term, there's one optional upgrade I strongly recommend: setting up CI/CD. And yes, this is actually useful, not just something I say to sound professional again. CI/CD basically means that every time you push code changes to GitHub or GitLab AWS automatically rebuilds and redeploys your site. No more manual uploads or dragging files around, which also means no more stupid mistakes. Like that one time I broke my site for a whole week because I accidentally dragged the wrong folder right below my build folder. Yeah, never again. Now that the site is live, you're probably thinking the same thing I did. Can I use my own domain name? Which makes it look way more professional and it's easier to show off to my friends.
Yes, we can.
But come with a cost. And it kind of depends on your ambition. If you want your site to be called x.com, well, hope you're as rich as Elon Musk. I personally spend way too much time trying to come up with the perfect domain name, only to find out it's already taken. After a month of soul searching, I finally found one that wasn't.
Nice.
So I hopped onto AWS Route 53, which is an AWS DNS service, and added a name record that points my precious new domain to my CloudFront distribution. It costs about 50 cents a month, which honestly feels like nothing compared to what I just paid for the domain itself. So go check this out. I paid $20 for this flippos.xyz domain, which is a free tool I built for creating digital greeting card online. And there you go. That's literally everything you need to host your website for free on AWS. Well, as long as you're not paying $100 per month for a domain name. If you found this useful for your future site hosting, give this video a thumbs up, share it with someone who's been paying way too much for hosting, and tell me in the comments what kind of site you're planning to deploy next with this method. Don't forget to subscribe for more tutorials and tech hacks, and I'll see you in the next video.